In your car, listen to Newswatch 16 on WKRZ AM 1340.
Proud to serve northeastern and central Pennsylvania. This is WNEP 16, the news station. Now, Nolan Johannes, Karen Harch, Chief Meteorologist Tom Clark with his backyard forecast, and Joe Zone on sports. This is the Newswatch 16 update.
Good evening. Should our children be allowed to pray in public schools?
That's the big question being debated in Washington tonight. Our lawmakers are working late on a proposed constitutional amendment that was introduced in the Senate today. The amendment would permit voluntary prayer in the public schools. Famous people like football coach Tom Landry came to the Capitol to show their support for the idea. Supporters say if the House and Senate can begin their day with a prayer from a chaplain, kids should be allowed to pray in school. But opponents say the amendment is a violation of the separation of church and state. The debate over school prayer is expected to continue in Washington for months.
It appears the debate over school prayer here in northeastern and central Pennsylvania is overwhelmingly one-sided. On Newswatch 16 at 6, we ask you if you were in favor of allowing prayer in public schools. 95% of you who responded to our unscientific telephone poll said yes, you do favor prayer in public schools. Only 5% of our callers said they did not favor prayer in the schools. One interesting note about the survey, more callers responded to tonight's question than in any other telephone poll ever conducted by Newswatch 16.
The results of our survey show that the school prayer issue is a controversial one. As Night Beat reporter Bob Costantini says, even some clergymen disagree over whether it should be allowed.
Yes, churches clash over the idea of praying in school. Reverend Mark Trout is pastor of the Fundamentalist Church of Christ in South Wilkes-Barre.
I feel that through the 60s and into the 70s, we dismissed many of the old traditions and dumped them, just wholesalely threw them out. Now we're starting to handpick and say certain things weren't so bad.
Central United Methodist pastor Reverend Ken Carter says any type of open prayer in schools is bad.
If it puts certain students in a position of feeling that they're different, that somehow because of their religious beliefs and training, that they somehow, as a minority, do not enjoy all the rights that the majority enjoys.
The question is not only whether to allow some form of prayer back into our public schools, but whether or not it would do any good.
Their expression of their faith in their educational system will allow them to be not only better citizens, but bring about a more godly society as well.
There's no evidence that I've ever seen or heard anybody speak to suggest that 15 seconds or more of prayer would improve the quality of public education in this country.
While kids in this private school in Williamsport pray in the classroom the next few days, debate over whether or not this sort of scene should be in our public schools will rage. Bob Costantini, Newswatch 16.
Our lawmakers in Washington have been debating the school prayer issue all day and night. And while they talk about amendments, others are voicing their opinions in a different way. As ABC's John Bascom reports from Washington, vigils are being staged at the Capitol building tonight.
School prayer has always been an emotional and passionate issue, and nothing's changed as the Senate starts its consideration of a constitutional amendment to allow school prayer. The amendment would overturn the Supreme Court's ban on school prayer instituted 22 years ago. In a cold, constant rain, supporters of the school prayer amendment massed several hundred people to pray and sing. It was a far smaller crowd that assembled on the other side of the Capitol to oppose the prayer amendment. Spokesmen for religious organizations such as the Unitarian Universalist Association say prayer is a personal and private affair and should not be institutionalized in public schools. While the demonstrators made their points in the rain, some congressmen made their points in an unusual all-night session of the House of Representatives. In an almost empty House chamber, supporters of the school prayer amendment talked and talked and talked in its behalf. It was a one-sided debate, though, because Democratic leaders in the House don't even plan a vote on the issue this year. John Bascom, ABC News at the Capitol.
The Supreme Court in Washington has handed down a ruling concerning religion. It has to do with those nativity scenes put up by some communities at Christmas time. Two lower courts had ruled that a nativity scene in Rhode Island violated the separation of church and state because city money was used. But the Supreme Court decided today that nativity scenes do not go against the Constitution. One justice wrote, the displays celebrate a national holiday and its origins, and any benefit to one religion is indirect, remote, and incidental. Still ahead, a plea for a safer cigarette.
Plus, a little later, we'll tell you about a plea for help in Luzerne County, the story of how you can help keep the Children's Museum alive as Newswatch 16 Update continues.
Robert Redford in The Great Gatsby tomorrow.
Road crews in Pottsville will begin tearing down the Route 61 bridge a week from today. We first told you last month that the span in Schuylkill County is going to be replaced since there are dangerous cracks in its superstructure. It'll take 6 to 8 weeks to demolish the old bridge and put in a new one. While all that work is going on, traffic will be rerouted around the Route 61 bridge through Port Carbon.
A bridge in Bloomsburg, also in bad condition, is a little bit worse tonight. We told you last week about a ban on big trucks here on the East Bloomsburg Bridge and how a steel girder only 9 feet above the roadway would keep heavy trucks away. Evidently, one truck driver from Pittston didn't believe the ban, but became a believer when his rig plowed into the steel girder. We found workmen today in the Columbia County town replacing the girder. Sorry, we couldn't find the truck, but assume that it's in for repairs. We've been telling you about repairs ordered by the state for Plymouth's Westside Landfill, and that the site would reopen for Luzerne County trash early this week. Now, the DER says they'll sit down with the landfill authority on Wednesday. They'll talk about progress made by the landfill on upgrading its road and other environmental improvements in hopes of reopening for areas on the west side of the Susquehanna by the end of the week. Next on Newswatch 16 Update, meteorologist Tom Clark heading out to his backyard.
Pretty chilly out there again tonight, right, Tom?
It is. No change in temperature since 6, though. Still raining lately outside, but no hints of spring this week. And I'll explain why when we come back.
Daisy's never really needed me before, don't you see? All I can see is Daisy. All I can think about is Daisy.
It's the classic story of the Roaring '20s.
How about a swim?
When you and I were 17 and life and love were...
Robert Redford and Mia Farrow in The Great Gatsby, tomorrow at 4, here on NEP 16.
Some encouraging news tonight from Pennsylvania Gas and Water Company. Ever since the giardiasis outbreak in parts of Luzerne and Lackawanna counties, PG&W has been sampling the water here at its Springbrook Reservoir to see if it still contains the disease-causing giardiasis. Here you're getting Skycam 16's view of the reservoir. For the past 3 weeks, tests have shown no giardiasis at the reservoir or in its distribution system. Even so, if you've been boiling your drinking water, you're advised to continue boiling.
Well, let's find out if all the reservoirs are going to get filled up over the next couple of days. How is the rain outlook, Tom?
Yeah, Nolan, today's weather can only help that situation, but just a drizzle now in the backyard, a lot of icy slush on the ground around me. And when you melt down all the snow and the sleet and combine that with the rain we had today, I measure about 2/10 of an inch in this backyard. Now the temperature is up 1 degree from what it was at 6 o'clock. The reading now is 35. The humidity way high, lots of water vapor in the air tonight. That's why we have some fog around. The wind southwest at 7, and the barometer is now falling. The range in temperature, 35, is the high up to this point today. The low this morning was 28. Look at those normals, now 39 and 24. And the record low, 2 above, back in 1948. That's a shot there of Public Square in downtown Wilkes-Barre. How about the satellite view from 22,300 miles in space? Look at all the clouds along the eastern seaboard. A lot of heavy rain down along the southeastern part of the country. But the storm system is now north of New York State. It left up to 20 inches of snow over the weekend in portions of southern Minnesota. And today, close to 7 inches of rain down in northern Louisiana. A few tornadoes down that way as well. But our dear friend Joe Zone is heading down to Fort Lauderdale, Florida tomorrow. And Joe, if you're watching, I'm about to make you smile. 83 The high down there tomorrow under lots of sunshine, and then cooling off later in the week, Joe. Temperatures only in the 70s in the afternoon. Gee, that's too bad. Speaking of warm weather, out in San Francisco, they've had some of the warmest weather so far this year, with readings the past couple of days in the middle 70s. So they're enjoying that. You can see the clear skies out that way. But there is a storm now dropping down over Montana, and that should drop down and bring us a threat for some more snow here on Thursday as the temperatures continue to trend well below normal this week as the jet stream is coming down out of northern Canada across from Siberia. So very cold this week. Here's the nowcast now. We do have a front crossing over eastern Pennsylvania. With it just some light rain, but a shift in wind behind it bringing down some colder air. Only about in the low 30s for tomorrow morning. The rain should have ended by then as the front pushes offshore, but now in the 20s over upper Michigan. Here's the forecast for the morning rush hour. I see a cloudy sky, but wet. I don't think it'll be raining or snowing or anything like that, but I think the road conditions will be okay. Just wet and a little slushy in some areas. Temperatures about 33 in Towanda, Carbondale, let's see, about 32 in Montoursville, 34 Elysburg, and near freezing in Mountaintop tomorrow morning. Now, in the afternoon tomorrow, still lots of clouds overhead, and that wind picking up as well from the northwest. Bundle up, it's going to be quite chilly. A stray snow flurry or two. 32 in Canton, 34 Lewisburg, 33 in Hazleton, about 34 here in Avoca. And up there in New Milford, 34, 36 down in Pottsville, and that cold air making its way in here through the afternoon tomorrow. The Health Watch looks like this. If you are sensitive to changes in the weather, well, tomorrow won't do a lot for your mood. We have an average index on that. Resistance to aches and pains about average as well. Sunrise and sunset, days getting longer, 6:30 a.m. and 6 in the p.m. Nothing more than a passing shower tonight as that front moves on through. 33, a cloudy day tomorrow. Only 27 on Wednesday for a high. That's close to 15 degrees below normal, friends. And Thursday, a chance for some snow as another little storm system moves on through, about 27, and still well below normal on Friday. Cold, only about 30. But I don't expect to hear any reports of geese flying north this week.
I guess not.
Let's follow Joe down south, though. What do you say?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Let's go.
All right. As long as the planes can take off early in the morning, Joe's all set. Coming up, threatening to close the Kids Culture Place.
Plus, Joe's Own with more on the district playoffs and the richest deal ever in pro sports. The 16 Sports Screen is next.
Third couple is representing the cities of Wilkes-Barre and Scranton, Pennsylvania.
America's hottest television dance show is coming back to Northeast Pennsylvania. WNEP TV and KRZ-FM will host 4 audition sessions at the new Hilton in downtown Scranton. From disco to new wave, jazz to polka, whatever kind of dance you can do, come down and audition. You might dance your way to California and appear on Dance Fever. Since there are only 4 sessions, reserve your time now. Call KRZ-FM or WNEP TV.
And Joe will make use of his knowledge in basketball tonight.
And there is some. Contrary to what you may believe. There is basketball tonight. The
I thought you meant knowledge.
Yes, there is even some knowledge. It's amazing how catty and jealous they get when you go south. District 12 playoffs getting underway tonight. NAC and Pocono Mountain League girls and boys going for it. Districts 2, 4, and 11 off tonight. Their semis and finals will start tomorrow. So let's check out the scoreboards tonight. District 12, Boys A, Blue Ridge, Notre Dame. That one was postponed. Elk Lake beat Mountain View 61-59. More scores. Forest City, Pocono Central Catholic postponed. Elk Lake over Susquehanna 56-40. District 6 boys playoffs. Bishop McCourt over Penns Valley. State College over Hollidaysburg. Semifinals and finals this week in high school basketball. Some surprises last week has shaken up the Super 16. Let's look at it. After 2 straight losses, Scranton Prep now drops down to the number 16 spot. At number 15, Tamaqua. 14th team now, Nanticoke. They move in again after being up and down a couple times. 13th ranked team is Lakeland. They're 17-8. Number 12 is Athens. And then Pocono Central Catholic at number 11. Bishop Hoban, after losing to Nanticoke, drops down to number 10. Number 9, Allentown Central Catholic. 8th ranked team is Loyalsock at 23-6. Number 7, GAR. The Grenadiers just keep right on climbing. 6 is Lourdes Regional at 22-4. 5th ranked Allentown Allen. 4th-ranked Northern Lehigh, 3rd-ranked Northwest area, 2nd-ranked is Pottsville, and the #1 team in the Super 16. They have been all season long. They're still undefeated, and that, of course, is Williamsport. Regular season's also winding down in major college basketball. Tournament time in the next few weeks. The new top 10 released tonight, and North Carolina is still the unanimous choice as the #1 team in the country. Georgetown is #2. They're back up there. Kentucky now is ranked #3. Then DePaul at #4. Houston #5. Checking out 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oklahoma, Illinois, Arkansas, Texas, and the University of Nevada at Las Vegas. In the NBA tonight, just one game, Utah and New Jersey, and New Jersey won it. The final there, 120-116. Now, let me ask you a question. Is this quarterback worth $40 million? Well, the owner of the Los Angeles Express thinks so. Steve Young out of Brigham Young, a record-breaking college quarterback, second in the Heisman, the probable #1 in the upcoming NFL draft. You know what? He won't be drafted at all. That's because the USFL's Express signed Young to an all-time record deal of over $40 million.
These people were committed to me, and I'm not saying that, I'll be very frank, monetarily. I think I had choices in both leagues that were very good and very positive. And I think the thing that really made the decision for me was a situation that I could give back some of the things that I think have been given me the last 4 years at my university. We are going to go ahead and work on a scholarship there, and I think that's what's important here.
Some of the highlights of Young's deal: $2.5 million signing bonus, $30 million worth of deferred payments starting in 1990 and running until 2027. That's years, 2027. Cincinnati Bengals would have drafted Young #1. They were offering $4.5 million for 5 years. Not enough. Gee. National Hockey League scoreboard tonight: Washington over Pittsburgh 5-2, and Minnesota beat Detroit. The final there 4-1. The fishing game forecast for this week, or actually for tomorrow, because we don't want to get ahead of ourselves on this thing. 5 o'clock is the best time tomorrow. You can tell me how everybody did. The Phillies played today in Clearwater, Florida.
Yeah.
And they won 12-0 today in their exhibition game. They got some nice pitching from a whole bunch of people. Played the Toronto Blue Jays.
You suggest that co-anchors are caddish and jealous?
Not at all. No. Not at all.
Yeah, we're jealous, but what are you going to do?
Joe, you have a good flight. We're going to miss you.
We'll see.
Yeah,
I'll be sending back stories every day, starting Wednesday.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Say hi to him down there in Florida for us.
And still ahead, asking for help for the museum.
We'll put that story on exhibit when we come back.
Finally tonight, there's a museum in Luzerne County that caters to kids. But it could close if some cash isn't raised soon. That's why the Board of Directors is asking for your help to keep the Children's Museum in 40 Fort open. The museum used to get a lot of government money, but those funds are no longer available, and now donations are needed. If enough cash isn't raised, the Children's Museum will close at the end of the month, and the board says that would be a great loss.
My children have grown in the Children's Museum. They love it. I believe in it as an educator. I believe it provides an essential, unique quality to this community, and therefore it deserves to live.
The board says what it all boils down to is no money, no museum.
And
that would be a loss.
Yeah, that would be a real loss. That was the news part of it. We did hear at noon that there are some articles, or there's some forms in newspapers in the Wyoming Valley for people to take action. So we would suggest tonight, editorially of course, that it would be a great suggestion on our part for you, as we also will, to support that museum and see if you can with a little cash. It looks as though they really need it.
They do, and the kids need it too. And that's our report for tonight.
Next on Nightline, more on the debate over prayer in the public schools. Among Ted Koppel's guests, Pat Boone.
And for the first news of the day, join Frank Andrews, meteorologist Noreen Clark, and Jay Christopher for Newswatch 16 this morning at 6:30.
For the update team, thank you for joining us.
Good night.